Hey, Highland Student Ministry. My name is John Boyles. I'm with the Senior Huddle. We're going to pick up this week and this month with the next sections of the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew. I'm going to start with the section on salt and light right after the Beatitudes. Let's read those together and then talk about them. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. There are a couple things that really stick out to me about these sayings of Jesus. The first is maybe not obvious to us in our English translations, and that's that this you are the salt, you are the light. It's not an individual you, it's not a me and an each of you, but it's a plural you, it's a we. Jesus is saying his disciples as a collective are all together. You all, y'all, are the salt of the earth. Y'all are the light of the world. And so it's something that is our activity and our identity together, not separate. The second thing is where it ends up at the very end. You are the light of the world, and your good deeds are part of how that light is visible. And the purpose of that, or the result of that, is that others see them and give glory to God. The thing about salt and light is that these are important elements of life, both in the ancient world and today. We need salt to season our food. We need light to be able to see. And light can connect all the way back to the activity of God at the very beginning in the creation narratives. God brings light into the darkness. The other things about them is that they're distinct and they're visible, readily seen. And this is particularly present in my life because I have a couple of health conditions that make it so that salt and light are, important things in my life, but also kind of things that I notice a lot. One is that I have really low blood pressure, and I have some particular kind of dietary needs for my body that causes doctors to say, well, you need to eat a lot of salt. But part of the problem for me is that I really don't like salt because I really taste it. And that's the thing about salt. It brings something and it's identifiable. We might say it's a little bit weird sometimes. Now, when it comes to light, I used to ride to the university on my bike when I lived in Atlanta, and I got hit by a car one day, and that gave me a concussion, and it was the end of many concussions that I've had, and this gave me a condition that is called photophobia, where the kinds of lights that are on above my head right now and that are really present everywhere, those kinds of lights really bother my eyes. And when I'm in that kind of an environment for a long period of time, it gives me headaches and makes me feel nauseated and really tired and dizzy. And it's because the light is powerful. It's also distinct and visible, can be seen. And so when we are picking up these images and these ideas, we might be reminded of what we had just seen in chapter 5, verse 12 in the Beatitudes, that Jesus' disciples will face opposition, maybe even persecution. And this is probably something that's familiar to us if we think about people who are different right now. We as humans, when we see people who are distinct or different, sometimes our first reaction is to make fun of them or to exclude them. And Jesus picks up on that very saying that he said to his disciples, you're going to be different, and when you're treated poorly because you're different, it's good, it's blessed. And also, by the way, you're going to be like salt, and you are like salt in the world. And the thing about salt is that it only takes a little bit to make a big difference and to be noticed. And you're like light, right? And light, it only takes a little bit to make a big difference because it's visible. And the whole thing about being distinct with Jesus' disciples is that we're distinct because of how we act in the world. And the result of our activity is not so that we'll be praised by other people, because remember, we might be excluded by other people, but it's so that God will be recognized. And even if people don't recognize God in our activities in the day-to-day and in everything that we do now, part of what Jesus is saying is that one day people will recognize God, and God will be proclaimed as who God actually is. So as you think about salt and light, Think about these things. It's not something we do by ourselves. It's not something we are by ourselves, but it's who we are together. And the purpose of being that way is not to be seen by people, but so that God can be seen through who we are as the church. Take care.